Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special interview with Adam Zeitsiff, President and CEO of Intelivideo. Adam needs no introduction. He has been one of our industry's shining lights, one of our leading pioneers and advocates throughout this pandemic. He's shown as the CEO and president of Gold's Gym before moving in the fall of last year to take over at Intelivideo, leading them onto greater heights. A quick video now about Intelivideo, and then we'll get stuck straight in to the interview with Adam.
At Intelivideo, we aren't just a technology company. Our end-to-end solution creates a robust digital subscription offering. Come be part of a platform that is helping lead the hybridization efforts for some of the best fitness operators.
Adam, many thanks for joining us today. 12 months ago, who knew what would happen in the marketplace? We've had digital acceleration, hybridization is now mainstream. Let's look at on-demand, let's look at live streaming. What are the trends coming out of the marketplace that you're now seeing, either from a consumer or from a business standpoint?
Yeah, it's good to be here, Ross, and excited to be part of this event again. And for us, we're seeing more from the consumer perspective as we talk to operators around the world, and we're seeing the shift now and having them help educate their consumers, basically from a need to have to being the only thing they could do to something where now it becomes part of their everyday fitness routine, both in club and at home, right? So for the last 8 to 12 months, in some places, 12 months around the world, people just couldn't get into their club. In many places, even in our country here in the United States. So this was the only thing they could consume was a live stream and on demand. It became part of their routine. It was their routine. And now what we're seeing, this kind of shift in the trend is, okay, how do I take what I've done the last 8, 9, 12 months and make it part of what I used to do and become part of my routine? So I'm in my gym or in my studio a few days a week. I can then use my on-demand and live streaming like I used to do all the time, but use it at home to augment that. And so we've seen that shift, and we're working with customers from an operator perspective to help the consumers make that shift. And really how we do that is helping them with programming they deliver, right? What is that programming? Making sure that programming really complements what the consumer wants to do in club. So now instead of being the only thing they have, it's something they have that will complement what they did in the club for a couple of days this week, adding value to that fitness experience when they can't get there, and really creating a very unique experience for their members.
Now, many operators had hybridization, streaming content strategies built into their long-term development plans. For some, it was thrust on them very suddenly and very quickly. From your experience, looking at this from an operator's perspective, let's look at the do's, let's look at the don'ts. But first, the do's. What 3 questions must operators ask themselves when they are looking at a hybridization plan?
Yeah, I mean, it could be 300, but we'll hit 3 to start. I think some of the key areas really are you ready to make this a critical part of your business? And I think the answer has to be yes, but they've got to ask themselves that, because then it stimulates some thinking, right? It's got to be something that is a critical part of your business that you talk about every day, that you lead and is part of every management meeting you have throughout the week. And it has to become a core part of your model. So ask yourself, are you ready to do that and make that commitment? And then the second question we would say is, who are you going to dedicate to this project? I don't mean that the person has to be their only job, but it needs to be a key piece of what they do every day. And they have to own it. They have to own the digital aspect of the operator's business so it can become a critical part of what they're doing, to that first question, right? But if you don't have someone own it, you're not going to make it successful. So that would be the second thing. And then I think the third thing we like to talk to operators about is, what do your members expect from digital? Right. And I think that you don't just have that answer. And I think what we tell them to do is really talk to some members. Don't be afraid to ask some of your members as they come back in. What did you do while we were closed and during lockdown? And what did you like? What didn't you like? How would you love to see a digital offering, created here from our club, so that when you're not in here 2 or 3 days a week, you can work out with us when you're home, and take their feedback, right? And I think we have seen, there was a study out recently that said more than half, just about 52% of gym goers that were surveyed said they'd be willing to pay a little more so they could have an in-club and a digital membership from their local health club provider, which is really exciting. I mean, I'd love it to be 100%, half of my members said they'd be willing to pay more for a digital service. I think that's a win. So talk to them and get the engagement from them because you're building this service for them.
Great tips, Adam. Let's talk about the don'ts. There's many mistakes to make, just as there are many questions to ask, but what mustn't operators do when they are trying to build out this virtual?
Yeah, I think we could hone this into a number of areas. I think 3 of them, and I think we talk about this a lot, but is the first mistake you can make is not investing in your people. Like you've got to give your people the chance to have new opportunities for themselves as they're engaging with members on a digital level. And so I think it's going to help people in their club embrace the offering if they can see that you've invested in your people, if the people that are in club doing classes are the same that are online, but you've taken the time to teach them and coach them. Coaching to a camera is certainly different than coaching to a room full of 30 people. So take the time, invest in your people, help them be comfortable there, help them create new opportunities for themselves, and they'll stay with you a lot longer as well. I think the second thing we see and a mistake we see is obviously around content, and I'm sure we can talk more about this in a little bit, but content, people have this misnomer that they've got to create thousands and thousands of titles and they've got to become a content factory, and you really don't need that. You need a very carefully curated small amount of your own content combined with third-party content to be very successful, but don't think that you've got to go out there and just be a content factory all day long. That's not how this works, and that's not what people want to see. And then I think the third thing we see mistakes that we see people making is not promoting a sense of community online. Just because it's online doesn't mean that you can't have a sense of community. And I think obviously one of the big benefits of going to a gym is that sense of community, but you can convey this online. You can create that really local experience for members online and make them feel like your in-club offering and your digital offering are very much in concert and unified as it relates to engagement.
Let's dig a little bit deeper on content, Adam, because I think it's one of these huge topics that operators can get a little bit fearful from. The idea that how deep is your library? How much content? Is it convenience? Is it quality? What makes for a successful engagement? You're obviously working with operators large, medium, and small from all around the world. Are you got some tips per se on what makes for good content? What should operators consider as they're actually looking specifically at creating that content?
Yeah, I mean, and this is the one this is the one that scares people the most, and it doesn't have to be scary. You're right. It can be looked at as a large lift, but and people can think of it that way, but it doesn't have to be. And I think if you look at, we look at kind of 5 essential elements as we talk about this. And of course, content does differentiate your business. It's what makes you different in a local level than a lot of other people, both locally and nationally and globally. So I think the first tip would be focus on what you as an operator do best and then borrow the rest. So what does that mean? It means combine your team and your people with your own curated local content with some really good third-party content and bring it together in a good content library. You don't have to do it all yourself. It doesn't have to be your own lift. And that will help give you some diversity with your offerings for your different members and also attract new members when they see that you've got some great third-party content, some excellent content from your team. So focus on what you do best and borrow the rest is number one. I think you can still personalize offerings. And I think that's really important. So when you're doing digital, the second thing I would suggest is, reflect the same level of personalization in your digital content that you try to do when you're varying in your club. So offer a variety of workout types and instructors and styles, definitely vary length and intensity, things of that nature. And consider your current demographics of your club members when you're doing this, as well as the ones you want to attract, in the future. I think the third thing, and this sounds silly, but make the content easy to find and understand. Like being clever is super entertaining, but like if you come up with all these clever names and fun things, it's going to stymie the efforts you're trying to do to make it simple for your members to engage with your content. Make it frictionless to find the content, simple names, simple descriptions. It's easy for us to understand and make quick decisions as we're choosing what content we're going to work out with in this 32.5 minutes I have before the baby wakes up and I've got to go down and take care of her, right? And so that's really important. Make it easy to find, categorize, and people will really want to engage with it. The fourth thing I would say really is kind of integrate across channels, right? You've got to have brand consistency across your channels. So these classes need to feel like an extension of your club. So have your brand advocates, have your coaches and your instructors and your trainers in your club be talking about digital, right? Make sure they're talking about it, even in club. If you finish an in-person workout, a group X class with 25 people in there, what a great opportunity to say, hey, great class, everyone. And when you're in the cool down, talk about some things they can do when they can't get in here. If you can't get to next Thursday's class, I recommend X, Y, and Z on the digital, on the on-demand platform. If you're feeling a little sore tomorrow, there's some great recovery workouts on the on-demand platform. Get on there and do that when you're home. So integrate those channels in club and digital, and it will help drive engagement there and make the content even better. And I think the last thing is, when you're looking at content and a strategy and try to really make this successful, certainly think socially, right? Definitely get your content out there on some social media platforms. Have it promoted a little bit, snippets of your content. It'll facilitate that connection with your members, and it will drive them to the content when they're in the club, when they're not in the club. It will also create community, right? Your members will engage with each other, talk about the classes they did both in person and digitally, share milestones, all those fun things. And I think that's a really great way to make the content, all the work you're doing on this content, really successful.
Now, alongside the kind of fear, if you will, Adam, of creating such a content library, is probably the fear of competition. You've got such incredible content creators out there at the top end of the market, like Peloton. You've also got this huge swathe now of basically free workouts, free classes on YouTube and the like. For content creators, for operators today, how can they actually remain competitive? How can they differentiate themselves across all these different offerings? I know we touched on it with these 5 tips, but any other further thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that stat I brought up earlier about, just over half of members who were surveyed who belong to a health club said they would pay extra to have a hybrid membership, get some digital content from their local health club. And I think that's the most important thing to focus on here. I think, yes, we'd love to get all of them, all of our members, but as a health club operator, we're not, if you've got your club base and your member base, that's what you're focused on. You're focused on driving membership, monetizing that, and engaging with the people who want to be in your club, who want to take the benefits of your facility, your people, your team. And so the content piece is always going to be people looking at the free content. It's going to be out there. But if half of your members are willing to pay more for it, that's where you're focused on. Focus on those half, focus on those people, and deliver things they're familiar with and keep them engaged. If you can get half your members to pay extra for a service, it's going to increase their engagement with your brand and increase their lifetime value for your business. And that free content is just not going to give them that sense of familiarity, that sense of belonging, that sense of community of the people that they see all the time in their clubs. So certainly it's going to be out there. Free content's there, and there's plenty of people who are going to want to engage with that. But I would also challenge it. Maybe people who want to engage with that are not the same people that are going to the health club, and are the consumers that operators listening to this summit and watching and learning for their business really want to engage with anyway.
For the benefit of these operators, let's try and paint a couple of visualizations, Adam, because I think there's people out there thinking, I'm not quite sure this is right for my business. Of course it's right for your business. Can you provide a couple of case studies that maybe just map out or showcase exactly how you've come in and helped monetize? Is that monetize their offering as a separate P&L?
Yeah, I think some of the best examples, and that's where I spend a lot of my day actually, is talking to our customers and taking my experience and just helping them with the business model and the monetization piece. And some of the best things we've seen, as I said, number one, they've got to be committed to it, right? You don't need to build a team of 10. That's not what I'm saying. But you've got to have at least one person who spends part of their day thinking about this all the time, being committed to it, and then building a model. And I think that's the first piece. The second piece we've seen with people who've been successful, Ross, is this, to them, it's a cost of goods, not a cost. They're thinking monetization right away. They're thinking revenue. They're thinking lifetime value improvements. They're not just saying, man, what is this going to cost me to put in my business? The cost is nothing. The revenue will dwarf the cost it is for platforms and some of the time it took to create the content. So we're seeing successful operators who really monetize this well. Those two areas, of course, are table stakes. But then they're looking at this and saying, how do I drive value? The most valuable memberships to them are usually their top tier memberships. Those are the people who stay the longest. They engage with the brand in multiple areas. So we're seeing operators be successful by bundling the video on demand, live streaming, their digital platform in at that top tier. And what we are seeing is we're seeing high single digit, sometimes low double digit improvement in attachment percentage to those upper tiers. And if you do the math, and there's, you're at like this up 8% attachment of your members at your top tier. And that goes to 12 or 13 or 14% over the first couple of quarters. That is a significant improvement in attachment at that higher level. That's building your dues tab significantly. And that's driving people who are going to probably be engaged longer because you're giving them a real value. It's not just a perceived value of, hey, you also get 15% off in the pro shop at this membership. That's great, but that's more of a perceived value than an actual value. They can use the on-demand platform. They can use the workouts. They can see what it's going to be like when they can't get into the gym. And the operators who are most successful there, they take the time. And as I said, invest in your people early on in their conversation here. They invest in their membership advisors and their sales team. And they spend time coaching them through. How do we talk about this new membership? How do we talk about the benefits of getting in here a couple days a week, using our facility, our equipment, our team, but getting a workout with us one day a week when you can't get in here? Oh, and here's how you can do it. And teaching those membership advisors and salespeople to pull it right up on the computer in front of them. They probably have a screen in front of them with, the 3 membership tiers. Window over to the next tab and show them the on-demand platform. Start playing a workout. Make sure that workout is somebody who is coaching classes in the club, right? Give them an idea. We need to see to believe as consumers. I know I do. And, social proof and physical proof help that. So being able to do that has really helped our members drive attachment, our customers drive attachment for their members at that higher tier. And they're seeing dues tab improvements right off the bat. And then they're using those learnings to go back to base and market. Just some simple emails, in-club POP and things like that to talk to existing members and show them the benefits, whether it's on social, email, in-club, all the ways you can communicate with members. And they're starting to drive attachment from maybe people who don't want to be at that upper tier, but who will spend, $6, $7, $8, $9 extra a month for the on-demand platform because they're seeing the benefits. They've got social proof. They saw a social media post about it and somebody talking about it. So these are some examples, but we are seeing definitely strong attachment improvements. We're seeing back to base improvements, and that's just service add-on revenue that's really driving this to be, again, not a cost, but a cost of goods.
Let's look maybe 12, even 24 months down the line, Adam. COVID's no longer here. That boat has sailed. Let's have a look. There's going to be increased adoption in terms of operators using these platforms and services. There's going to be an increase in awareness from the consumer. But from an industry standpoint, how do you think this hybridized industry, this hybridized ecosystem, how will that evolve in the next 12 to 24 months? What do you think we can expect to see that could add even more value back into the industry and operators?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I wish I had that crystal ball because we'd be doing this call from my beach house, right? If I had one. But, I think for me, we talk about hybridization a lot. We talk about it here on the summit. We talk about it all over socials and as an industry. And I would argue that the next 12 to 24 months might not be made up of major revelations in technology and new advancements as much as it is really people adopting this in their business. For the last 12 months, it was a Band-Aid. It was probably not monetized. It was simple platforms that were public to everyone. I really think the next 12 to 24 months of evolution of this is really people adopting it and making it part of their business. It doesn't happen overnight. The larger brands have done it or are in the process of doing it now. The independent, small to medium size operators out there, 1 club, 3 clubs, 10 clubs, this is something that it has been a bit of a scary thing to them. They're starting to understand it now. So to me, evolution the next 12 to 24 months is the monetization of this. If people really actually at that independent operator level taking advantage of it, deploying of it, working with companies like us to get it done from a technology perspective, but also a strategic services perspective, which is the scary part for them. So as I do think we will see some technology advancements. We will see people dip their toe in the water more with virtual personal training or small group training, as well as on-demand and live streaming, integrating the wearables from the MyZones of the world into the platforms and making sure that it's a seamless experience, whether I work out in the club, whether I work out online, all my tracking and technology is there. But I think for me, next 12 to 24 months, the rubber meets the road where everyone really starts to deploy this, pivots, have small successes, small failures until they find the right business model that works for them so it can be there for the long term.
Closing question, Adam. Let's point the spotlight back at you and the Intelivideo. The next 12 to 24 months, what does success look like? What's on your horizon? What do you got planned?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a variety of things on the table. We're working diligently every day. They seem like long days for everybody, but it's been a lot of fun. And I think for the next 12 months for us, we're focused on a couple key things. I think it's that continued momentum and thought leadership first and foremost to help the market understand that this hybrid economy, not just the hybridization of fitness, but this hybrid economy in multiple verticals and multiple industries is certainly here to stay in fitness. And really doing what I said earlier, these independent operators really are going to be focusing on this monetization. They're next. Big brands went first, now them. So for us, our job is to continue that thought leadership, that market awareness, and educating people on how they can do this successfully, and how it's not just a Band-Aid, but it's part of the fabric of their business. I think the second thing we're focused on the next 12 months is really engagement. How are we going to work on our platform, on our strategic services, on our relationships with our customers to help ensure that they can get engagement from their members from this platform. That's the key thing. You can deploy this, but if people don't use it, it's kind of like when people buy exercise equipment at home and it becomes a coat hanger for their favorite shirts, right? It's the same thing. And so for us, we want to help operators over these next 12 to 24 months get that one extra magical touch point per week, right? We always talk about it in fitness for years. How do I engage with my customer, or my member, one more time during the week so we become sticky? Well, digital can do that. So we're really focused on engagement, both with our platform functionality, with the services we provide customers. And I think that's really going to be critical, because when they get that extra one touch point a week, the LTVs go through the roof. And really that's what we're here to do as a company at Intelivideo, is help operators attract members and keep them longer with a unique fitness experience. And I think the third thing, Ross, for us is, from just a pure business perspective, right? We've got a strong customer expansion happening in North America. So we're going to focus on growing that continually the next 12 months. We've landed and expanded in both the European markets and the Asia Pacific markets already, as you know, but we're going to really invest in that over the next 12 months with people and resources. And really the third thing for me from a business perspective is partnerships. We've got a ton of great partnerships out there, ecosystem partnerships from a technology perspective, business development perspective. That is driving revenue for us and driving customer base and just market awareness. So we're going to focus on that kind of to fuel the growth of our own business over the next year.
Adam, exciting times ahead for you and the company. Thanks very much for your support, and thanks very much for leading the way in terms of promoting education, awareness, and delivering value to the industry. All the very best, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks again, Ross.